Sir, get off
Whenever
your
you're
phone.
ready.
No, I'm literally pulling up Constructors because
Why? We all know. It's 19 points.
For who?
Or is it? No, 21 points. No, 19 points.
For who?
Away for Ferrari.
Oh, buddy, I'm looking at you've got Alpine, Haas, and
He
the
said,
Vis-
"I'm looking down.
Yeah, like
You're
down again.
focusing on the wrong."
Hey, there's only like 5 points between Haas and Alpine. Gasly pulled out of the bag for Alpine.
He
today.
did. P5.
No, that's insane. That's where the battle's at.
Yep.
I
It's
think
up there too, sir.
McLaren will take it.
Yeah.
I think McLaren will take it.
It is. They do have a good gap. So, I mean, what is it, 19? Is it 19 or 21?
21.
21.
It's 21.
It's 21. I think they have a good buffer, but
Yeah.
from what we just seen this weekend with things coming off track that decide the race for you, anything can happen. They were, the first half of the race, they were about to celebrate
They had it
the
in
Constructors.
bag.
They had it in the bag, and somehow flip of a switch, we're watching a whole different race. And we are talking about the Qatar race that just happened. We're at the Crater Club Studios. I'm joined by my co-hosts, Mikey, Claudia, and we have another amazing guest. You're about to hear a lot from him. Evan, welcome to the team.
Thanks for having me. I
No
really appreciate
worries.
it.
I mean, before we even get into the race, I want to know everything you guys are doing. I think you guys are doing fantastic work, but just let us know what you do and also our audience.
Hi, everyone. So my name's Evan. I'm from the University of Toronto Formula Racing team, and we're a design team at the University of Toronto. We design, manufacture, and build, and race a Formula One style car every year out of the school.
Wow. And I mean, I think there's a rumor saying that they're putting an entry into F1. You know, we've heard that US team was coming. Is that a rumor? Is
They
that
got some
true?
hella funding if that's the case.
I wish we will be in Europe, but not on the grid, unfortunately.
Oh, damn. But no, I mean, how does that even work for a university to be creating an F1 car and also like using the car in races?
So it's a club at the university, so it's all extracurricular.
Wow.
And essentially, like some engineering students, myself, I'm a business student, and some computer science people, we all come together around June and start designing our new car. The university provides us with some funding and a shop, and kind of from there, they just like get going. And, we start designing throughout the summer, and into October, we finish design. And then over the winter time, we manufacture everything. And then around March, we start testing, preseason testing.
Yeah.
And then May and through the summertime is all of our races. So kind of from there, we get our own sponsors, we get our own funding, we get our own parts.
That's amazing.
And so everything the school just gives us the keys to the shop, and they're like, go ahead, do what you want. And we go compete against other schools.
That's
Awesome.
crazy.
Where do you compete and how many races is there?
So this upcoming season, we're looking to go to 4 competitions. So 1 in New Hampshire, 1 in Michigan, 1 in the Czech Republic, and 1 in Germany.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
So
how do you guys transport the car?
Well, that's quite a big thing, transporting the car. So obviously we have our crate, which we get manufactured by one of our sponsors. And then we have carnets and like all the paperwork to go with it. And then with our shipping partner, we ship it across the country and the continent to the races. And then the team kind of follows the car.
And wait, is there regulations for
Yeah.
like how the car should be and like what the parameters are?
So every competition has its own set of rules. Basically like FIA, we get like a handbook from the governing body and we have to design within them. And then when we come to each competition, they rule check our cars. So go through every single rule and make sure it's legal and safe.
Wait, so it's different for every race?
There's slight changes we have to tweak, so we design everything. So like we might have to change a PCB here and there, or like slight regulation change, but more or less the same, but not quite.
And what has been your like best finish for a race?
We finished first.
Hey.
So
Let's go.
we're
Let's go.
2-time defending champs at the New Hampshire competition.
Awesome.
Okay, sir.
And so we're looking to defend for a 3rd time this year, and that's quite exciting.
That's class.
Yeah, that's impressive. I mean, I feel like some teams in the back of the grid need to take some pointers from this team over
For
here.
real.
Like, god damn. No, that's impressive. But I look forward to even seeing what you guys do this season. I mean, it's already kicked off, I guess. for
Yeah,
the
we've
next one, right?
we've already designed the car. We're
Yeah.
manufacturing it now.
Wow.
We were just finishing up testing the last year's car.
Yeah.
All the lessons learned being implemented, and we're well on our way.
Look,
Amazing.
then we're going to need your debrief on this race because Qatar had a lot of things going down. Where do you guys even want to start? Like, do we go FIA stewards? Do we go for on-track incidents that happened? Do we talk about Mikey's alarm?
It's
where are we
3
going?
o'clock. 3 o'clock. That's my work alarm. That's like, we got to stop.
I mean, so many things happen. Let's
Legit.
talk penalties.
All right.
Like, there were more than we can count, I think. I was like, every time I looked up, it was penalty on screen. I was like, oh my God.
No, that was ridiculous. First penalty.
Some were justified. Some,
Yeah.
some, let's just say there was confusion around.
100%.
Lots of confusion.
Yeah.
100%. Let's talk about the first one, which was Max's penalty from qualifying, which I think
Silly. Unnecessary.
absolutely silly. I don't think we've seen it.
Both weren't on a push lap.
Yep.
They were just warming up. It's silly. It's and it's a flat track. You can see a driver ahead. George could see Max was there. Silly. And also, if you get a penalty, it's 3 grid penalties. It's not just one. So we just making up a rule as we go. Is that a different rule in the rule book no one found before?
Right.
It's like, maybe I'm confused because I don't know the rules, but it's like, I feel like every weekend it's like that's a new rule that exists.
They're inventing it. I don't know. Yes, we can talk about the stewards because there's been a whole shakeup, which we'll get into. But if we're just talking about rules, even if you saw George's onboard, you can clearly see that Max had 2 cars ahead of him when I don't know what corner they were going through. You can see there was a car in front of him, which he was carrying the same delta. So for him to brake check, they were about to start their lap. So he wanted to create the gap. I don't know what George Russell was trying to do to go full speed into Max. Like, yes, Max was still on the racing line. Makes sense. But like for first of all, they called him in for driving unnecessarily slow. It wasn't even like the contact with George Russell. So first, that was, if it was any other weekend, we probably would have got a fine. You're driving too slow. They've given out all these fines because you didn't carry your delta. There was no accident. There was nothing that was caused from those two being that close to each other for him to be warranted a one. Like, it was just so manufactured. It
Silly.
just felt very manufactured because they wanted to have a race. I don't know if maybe
I
they
mean,
were
George
scared.
Russell wanted that win so
bad,
bad.
right?
So bad.
I don't know. Evan, do you agree with this? Like, do you think that was a warranted penalty for
They
Max?
always go so slowly though,
Yeah.
right? Like they all go slowly before the lap. They got to cool the tires.
Yeah.
In this track, I guess not so much because it's already so cold, but you got to prep the brakes, things like that. I don't know. A little Michael Massing of the rules this weekend as a whole.
Oh, T.
Mic
Shots
drop.
fired. Shots fired. Okay, so that was the first one.
Yeah.
All right, let's move into the race. We had, I think,
Lewis.
Lewis's.
Yep,
Yep.
the
false
false
start.
False start
start.
is fair because he actually he jumped the gun a little bit, but he didn't brake and he rolled. So that's where they're like slammed
And he
down.
knew it. He
Yeah.
apologized
Right away.
immediately. So fair penalty
Yeah,
there.
That was given.
That's
Like
understandable.
5 seconds.
Yeah.
They've given it to other people. And then I guess the next one was.
Liam Lawson got one because he pushed Bottas wide. That was understandable. You can see from his POV, he went in heavy,
Yep.
but he couldn't correct the
Yeah.
understeer. He slid into him.
Yep.
The big one is the yellow flag that was on the main straight. Lando was chasing Max. There was about a 2-second gap. After that main straight, it reduced to 1.5. And Max...
Oh, it was like 1.1.
Was it 1.1?
Yeah, he,
But no one caught it except Max was
Max,
like,
how?
check Lando, did he brake? But when you go back to Lando's POV, am I not wrong in saying that if it's a red or a yellow flag, it shows up in their dash? I thought it showed up in their dash.
Maybe because it was a mini sector. Because if you think about it, it wasn't even like a full
wasn't a
sector.
full- okay.
It was that mini sector on the straight.
Yeah.
Because of that, whatever.
But
mirror.
even the commentator, David Coulthard, was like, no, that's a yellow and red,
Red, yeah.
and it's kind of blurred, and you could barely see it. And he's like, that's because it's slippery surface. And at the same time, someone's wing mirror was broken off on the track.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, oh, that
It
was,
was harsh.
That was harsh.
Yeah.
Stop and go too. Like not just the 10 seconds.
Like what was that? At 35 seconds.
35 seconds.
Might as well end the race for a driver. Like, I get it. It was a safety issue, and every pundit is saying yes, it's a safety issue, so you kind of have to penalize it harsh. But if you
Which
look
is
at the
valid, but
Yeah.
if
a
you
bit
look
extreme.
at it, exactly. If you look at the circumstances of what it was a straight. There was no other driver around him to make it a big safety issue for it to be warranted a 35-second penalty. Like, yes, at this point, are we talking about manufacturing a race? Because what you just effectively did was turned it from a constructor championship for one team into a last race battle effectively by one moment of the race.
Slight coincidence, but it does make it more of a nail biter for next weekend.
100%.
Because it would have been McLaren this
Easy.
weekend otherwise.
They would have finished effectively, even if he didn't do it. I
Yeah.
think Lando would have won this race. because
Lando would have won.
yes, if he didn't
No.
if he didn't cause that incident, I can tell you right now, a Red Bull on the hards is a no-go.
Buddy, I'm sorry, not a
Hot
chance.
take from
he
Henny.
was Lando was on his mic to the guys. His team engineer was like, "If you've got any more pace, please."
That was on the mediums. I agree. That's what I said. On the mediums, they were going at it. We've seen all year long, whenever Max puts on those cold, hard tires, he's lost how many positions in how many races whenever he turns into those cars.
I don't know.
I mean, into those tires.
I don't know.
But Piastri couldn't even catch Leclerc on the hards at the end, and
That
the
is true.
Ferraris were a
Yeah.
lot slower than both the McLarens and Max's
true.
Red Bull
Yeah.
That's
this
true.
weekend.
Because, I mean, like, before the penalty, he was like 6'10s, DRS just opened, and then he got handed that penalty.
I don't think he would have gotten. The only chance he had to get Max
Yeah.
was after that safety car
Second-
restart,
second or
and he
third one?
tried to send around the
Yeah.
outside, which was a no-go.
Hey,
But
they
that
changed
was,
the rule books for that. So they allowed them to race on the outside now. So, like, now it's like you don't even, I think it's you don't leave them room anymore. I think that was the thing. Now they decided amongst all drivers.
Just
if you go on the outside,
close them out.
you can close them out. They all agreed to it.
Interesting.
So that's why. And that's what Max did right away. He could just close them out.
Yeah.
And then he had to.
But Max has a golden rule. He's not
He's
gonna
not
pass
gonna,
it down, so. Yeah, that was okay. Back to two things. I
Yep.
think it was maybe somewhat harsh that Lando didn't break, but yes, if it is safety, then sure. But 35 seconds was
Dude,
that
do
was
a 10-second. Like, I
Yeah.
think that would have already changed the way, because of how close that grid was at that
Yeah.
restart, he would have dropped to like P7 or something like that, even with a 10-second, and then you would see him fight again. But those cars were competitive enough to give him a fight. Like, he dropped down to P14, and he was just taking them like they were nothing.
As much as
Like-
much as McLaren lost out, I still think the biggest losers this weekend were Mercedes. They showed pace.
Yeah.
George showed pace. You can see how frustrated George was getting after the safety car. He's like, "Why am I on the effing?"
He was
Yeah.
angry
That was
all
a-
race.
I don't know. That was a stupid call for them too. I don't know. Did they not have mediums left?
Yeah, everybody was confused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
And then
only-
Lewis had a miserable time.
So I think they only had a used set of mediums for George at the end, and then they also had the slow stop, which made it even worse.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
that
stop
ended
was
his race.
awful.
because it put him out behind the Williams, I
Magnussen.
think, and the
No,
Haas.
the Haas
Yeah.
and Alonso or something.
Yes.
It was rough. Oh yeah, he was battling Alonso for like 10, 15 laps after his pit stop. But yeah, I think Mercedes lost out. I think not just Mercedes. I think we need to talk about Lewis Hamilton.
Ooh.
This was I really don't
I mean,
know
it was
what to
kind of
call
like
it.
devastating to watch.
Absolutely
You're just like, I
devastating.
just hope it's over. Like,
Yeah.
this is just terrible.
But then also, it's like, if you're Lewis, you are a veteran enough to know that what you say in the media pen affects everything.
Yeah.
So what you've been saying the last few days, yes, your car is shit. Okay, we get it.
Yeah.
But for it to be that toxic,
What
with not just the media,
I mean,
but
it
just-
affects the team. It affects
Exactly, the
everybody's morale.
Sorry,
Like,
what did he say? Like,
he's like, I just can't wait until winter break. I'm done.
can't wait.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, he
I
actually said
feel
that.
slow.
Almost every
Everything
interview.
sucks.
Yeah, that's all he's been saying
Yeah,
the
okay.
last 3 days. And it's like, this is also your legacy you're talking about here within Mercedes. Do you want to leave it at a toxic spot? Even though he's gotten those drive-through penalties, and then you see him on the radio saying, I want to retire the car.
Yeah.
And then they told him it's negative because you can't just do, like, you can't retire the car on a penalty.
Yeah, you have to serve the penalty.
Exactly. And then Bono was like, well, unless you want to receive a grid
in Abu
a
Dhabi.
penalty in Abu
yeah.
Dhabi, you got to do it. He's like, no comment. Like, it's just like, I understand it's not the car you want, and you're not competing, you're not winning races. But for you to be so out of character for the last maybe few races, it wasn't even Vegas. We saw it, good performance, but he wasn't there. He wasn't clocked in. It makes sense.
It was bad vibes from
It
him.
was.
I was just waiting for Toto to get on the radio to be like, listen, we
Enough.
know the car's bad. Drive it once
Enough.
again.
It's like he's at his wit's end. He's done with the team. So
Yeah.
I think it's not that he's defeated, but there's a certain element that I think we seen 2 years ago as well when the car wasn't there and he was on the team radio being like, he had an incident before. He was like, retire the car, retire the car. And it was strange to hear it from him because normally he wouldn't give up.
Yeah.
But like he was struggling to start the race with no understeer. Full fuel load probably affected him. He came out in traffic. He struggled all week.
No, well, yeah, and I don't blame him. I think the car wasn't there. Like, circumstances didn't help. But then you also can see the contrast. You have George Russell on the other side of the garage outperforming this car. Or maybe it's this whole thing about Max and Red Bull building a car around one driver. And maybe it's looking that way now because he's their number one driver. And every feedback that George is giving them, they're building more than they are with Hamilton.
Yeah.
It might be an incident like that. I really don't know what is going on in the garage, but he's just been nowhere compared to his teammate all year long.
But I think that's affecting him as well because
100%.
he is this big world champion. It's also, I think we have to give George a bit of credit in the fact that I think maybe he's better able to, or one of his talents is he can manipulate the car even if it's bad. He can still tweak little performance numbers, whereas Lewis before and even now, give him a good-ish car or good-ish strategy, he can make it a masterful race, master everything. But give him something that he just can't get grasp of. Like even today, he was commenting, he's like, "What's wrong with the car? Like, you're a veteran, you should know if it's understeer, if it's bad, if it's a bad balance." And his race engineer was like, "Oh, I think it's just underbalanced." And I think it was David Coulthard that commented, and he's like, "Why is he asking that question? He should know exactly what it is. He should know exactly what he's feeling from the car." So maybe again, he was just kind of like checked out, and he's just putting it back on the engineer, being like, "Figure this out. It's not working." But it was sad to see. It was a little bit disappointing.
Very, very sad to see. I mean, it can be as bad as he says this car is. Just finish off. Just being like you're almost there. You're one race left or 2 races this weekend. You could have just went.
Just do a Checo on it. Like after safety restart, floor it, spin it out, and then just blame a gearbox or something.
Like we have yet to see what it was. People are saying it was a hydraulic issue. The way it just
Checo?
Yeah.
Commentators said that allegedly
he floored the
hydraulics.
thing. Like that RPM went what? No.
Yeah, what expert? What do you think? Did he just spin out, or is this a car issue?
Well, they said he was like losing power. I don't know. Checo's like every week. You never know what's going on with him. If I'm Checo and I'm always at the back and my teammates winning a world championship, like that's obviously very frustrating all the time.
100%.
He's at the back again. Like I don't know. It could easily just have been like a bin, you know.
Yeah.
But it was also sad because he wasn't at the back. He was P7
he was doing
6
good
at that moment.
Well,
At the restart.
good P7.
Yeah. You know,
Hey,
he
it's
could have
Checo.
fought.
It's
Yeah,
good.
exactly.
That's
That's a good
yeah,
result
yeah,
for
yeah.
Checo.
Great for him.
Very good results. We can even talk about the sprint and sprint qualifying. He was out in the first.
He didn't make it past.
He didn't even make it past
the
that.
first.
Just even the race. He started from the pit lane. He fell asleep at the green light. Like
Even Christian Horner afterwards, he was like, I don't know, he fell asleep or something. Like we need to
Did
talk.
Horner say that?
Yes.
Oh, brilliant.
Like when the lights turn
On
go
live
green.
TV, when the lights go green, you're supposed to go. It was giving Will Buxton for sure.
Wild.
And then Checo's like, well, I wanted to create a gap and just test out our new setup. That's why.
It's like, it's on purpose,
Yeah.
I promise.
Well, let's give him. He did actually test up something new because they were terrible, and then all of a sudden Max was P1 and setting fastest laps.
I kid
in
you
the
not.
sprint.
I've never. Have we seen that? I know if it wasn't a sprint weekend, we wouldn't see this kind of change. But for a car to go and not even be as fast as a Haas, and then within 3 hours go into getting a pole and having the same pace as the top 2 teams.
Look at Alpine. They changed the front wing in Gasly's car.
Yeah.
And he had a great race.
Yes. And he got lucky with the safety car. Because
Yeah.
he pitted and it really brought him up. But I don't know. Like that pace is just like, I haven't seen a turnaround within 3 hours.
At the end of sprint, Checo, when I think he was behind Colapinto, he came in for a new front wing setup and changes at the end to do some test laps because he was way out of the points. So that might have been it.
No, that's incredible.
But I think that's how fine the margin was. I think it was all on just a small tweak of balance. A wing tweak, like from a heavy fuel load to a light fuel load. Because Gasly, new front wing, was doing really well. Red Bull were terrible at the sprint qualifying. They did a little test session with Checo, new front wing, amazing. Russell might have had a different tweak than Lewis.
Clearly.
Like even Max had said, he's like, the car was terrible, and now all of a sudden it's amazing to drive. So it goes to show, like it's the tinkering.
It's a flip of a second per lap, like the difference in 3 hours, which was shocking. And good for Red Bull to figure it out, because we all know, like when it comes to sprint weekends in Red Bull, they always never get the right setup.
Somehow.
It's always been like this with them. The rules actually helped them this time because Parc Fermé opens up and they're able to make changes. We've seen past years where, like Brazil, where they're stuck with a setup and they got destroyed with a dominant car. Like we all know this can happen to them, but it was good to see. I mean, Max is just on a high right now.
Yeah.
And he's staying on
You know
it.
who else is on a high right now?
Who?
Take a guess. Who just scored his first points?
Joe!
What an underdog. What a race.
What a race.
What a great race.
Yeah, he was stressed on the radio when his team engineer
He's
was
like,
telling him, he's
"Shut
like,
up,
don't talk to me.
I've been in this position in a very long time. Let me do this.
Nah, but fair play. Like that's like 2 races to go in his career as well. That was nice to see.
Yeah.
And you were saying he won drivers of the day as well.
One driver of the
Rightfully
day, I'm
so.
pretty sure.
Amazing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Really great points from him and the team. Like to go all season with 0 points sucks.
That's
Like
tough.
you could see the whole team celebrating at the end. Like it was a really beautiful moment
Yeah.
to see. I was like, oh, this for 4 points, but it's lovely. And the
then
fact that
Bottas-
he's
sorry,
go.
I was gonna say Bottas too, on P11 at the end.
Yeah.
That was
Goddamn Lando.
I think
He has to go
Valtteri was
run
there
out.
for the vibes today, though. He was like, you know what? There's like 5 DNFs. Like, I'm here to have some fun and cause some
Listen,
chaos with
I
that
was
mirror.
gonna say, there's controversy because
What?
there's a conspiracy. It was
Oh.
Valtteri who caused this
What?
havoc of a safety car.
Oh.
He ran
wing.
over
Okay,
the mirror.
but that mirror should have been removed
Yes.
Indeed.
as soon as it was like, they went, what, 3 laps? Like, with the mirror still there.
Yeah.
Why
Oh,
is it there?
went
Like, that's a
no.
safety
It
hazard.
went like so many laps until the puncture started to happen. After the puncture, they waited 2
Yeah.
more laps
Yeah.
before a full safety car came out.
That single-handedly ruined Sainz's race.
Yep.
Hamilton's race. Even Piastri was at one stage was like, "Hey, check my front left."
Yep.
He
Yeah.
thought it was gone. Whose wing was it, by the way? Or who?
It was Albon's mirrors.
Was it Albon's?
Yeah, that snap off. Because I think Albon, how many contacts did he make today?
He was struggling with the front end a lot.
Yeah.
I really don't get what was
Him
going
and
on.
Magnussen racing was.
That was beautiful.
I'm going to miss Magnussen so
I
much next
know,
year.
same.
Because we were even talking before the pod started. It was like, you put Magnussen in any position on the grid. Like, you put Lewis at the back. Sure, let's hope he fights. But then if he can't, it's like retire the car.
Yeah.
You put Magnussen, P19, P17. He is racing like
Till the end.
he's going to win the championship. If he
His
doesn't
life
get the car.
depends on it. Like that's how he
It
races.
is brilliant to see. Him and Albon was brilliant. And even you can see the emotion. He's like, fuck, when he passed him.
Yeah,
like,
rightfully
will,
so.
Will FIA give him a penalty for cursing under
I think so. If they keep
I
the same
mean,
stance,
yeah, consistency. Hello.
that's what they want, right?
God damn.
Let's talk about the stewards. This weekend
Let's
was a
talk
busy
about the
weekend.
stewards.
Go to get
Yeah.
Claudia the
We're
floor.
gonna-
Okay, I mean, so many things have happened.
Yeah.
Like 2 weeks ago or before the last Grand Prix, they'd replaced the race director, which is a huge decision that the drivers didn't know about until it came out in the press and social media, which is a red flag. No, like you'd expect in your place of work that you don't have to know about things that are going on. But once something happens, you should know before everybody else does. So that was a shocking decision. To have a new race director for the last 3 races of the season is also a bit odd. Like, this is just a weird time to do it. Sure, halfway through the season, maybe. But there's literally 3 races left. A lot was at stake, like the Drivers' Championship, the Constructors' Championship. Like, everything is at stake. And we've now put in somebody to, like, take the reins and deal with everything that's happened. Like, it's just chaotic. And then they sacked the lead steward. I believe it's Tim Mayer or Myers. I don't know how you pronounce it. But that was a shocking move as well. Apparently, he found out via text. And he's been there for a very long time, like volunteering time and hours to making sure racing's done well and safely. And to just hear that you've been let go like this is absolutely shocking. Absolutely shocking. Another one was let go from F2. I believe the race director from F2, she was like dismissed, departed role. I don't know. We don't know what really went on there, but that's 3 sackings in the last like 2.5, 3 weeks.
It doesn't really instill confidence as well, because even
No.
when the drivers question certain things, they're told, stick to what you know, stick to driving, we'll figure this out. But then in the media and from an outsider looking at the sport, like we follow the sport quite closely. Every weekend it's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of like, they need to kind of figure it out and get a little bit more consistent. So maybe they let the guy in or whoever it is for the last 3 races to try and build a platform for him so it's better going forward. But you're completely right. The Constructors was changed today because the yellow flag that Lando didn't see has been changed. Now it's a nail biter for next weekend's race between Ferrari. And let's not forget, next weekend will suit Ferrari a hell of a lot more than it will McLaren.
It will.
So
I'm telling you, I mean, it's not even just that. I think the problem starts from the top with FIA. I think the person that's running the show right now has outlived his stance.
how long has he been there?
For a while, actually.
For a while.
Yeah. And it's not even just that. It could have been 2 years. I don't care if he was there 10 years or 2 years. But for you to not show leadership characteristics around building a team where you're sacking people off a text, or if they don't disagree, or if they disagree with you, you're like, no, I don't want you on the team. That is not a person who should be leading a governing body of a race.
Exactly.
Like,
and
it's
he's
simple as
behaving
that.
just erratically. Like,
Yep.
you don't like when drivers criticize the FIA in the press. But then you go out and you make really aggressive statements, being like, stick to driving. We don't really care what they think. Like, it's just strange behavior. Granted, the FIA has always had, occasionally many issues and controversies. But this is just a bad look, like, for the entire sport, that your leadership and governing body is behaving like this, especially publicly.
Yeah.
Like internally, it may be a separate issue, but to speak to the media like this about your drivers and the people that put their lives on the line literally every weekend to deliver a show and entertainment.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, it's sad. But then you look at it and be like, well, when does Liberty Media and F1 just step in and be like, I think we need to have a conversation here on how you are governing our racing? Because I mean, this weekend they liked it because it created a show, and they're about to get another show next weekend. So I really don't think they're complaining, but it just comes to a point where you got to step in as a owner of a massive franchise like this to be governed by a body that can't even agree with each other. Like every weekend, you said it, it's different. Like we don't know what we're going to get. Like we went from, I think Andrea Stella today was like, in the post race, she's like, yeah, I think they just picked up a book off the shelf and it has like, dust on it and gave us a penalty, a 35-second penalty, which we haven't seen in how long. Like, it's just like, come on.
It kind of scares you as well, because like you mentioned earlier, like the Michael Massey rule.
Yeah.
But like it does instill fear, because all of a sudden we could be reminded of that decision where it's like on a certain weekend, someone doesn't feel like things are going the right way. Let's just make a random decision that could affect a race, a world championship, a constructors championship.
Well, they have so many rules, and some of them are enforced sometimes, and some of them aren't enforced. It's kind of like a gray area.
Yeah.
And like with the different stewards always coming in, the gray area shifts with each stewarding.
Yeah.
So then having no consistency, how are they supposed to race? For example, like I think it was Austin when Max and Norris went off. They pulled in one rule, and then the next race they like doubled down. It was just like so much confusion. How are they supposed to race? When it changes the rules.
Yeah.
Are you allowed to push them off? Are you not? Is it a 10-second, 5-second?
Yeah.
It changes decisions.
It's sad because then there's no consistency. There's no confidence with the drivers. They're starting to lose it because they're like, well, yes, again, let's remove the Lando one because yes, that's warranted. But the other ones of like you just said, like racing beside each other, what is allowed anymore? If it's constantly changing within even the drivers association or their whatever, they're constantly changing within themselves, saying, well, now on the outside, you can cut them off because they're taking the chance. You have the inside line, whatever. Like it's constantly changing. And then you have the FIA in the back be like, well, we can give you 10 seconds today. We can give you 5 seconds tomorrow. We really
Let's
won't
see
know.
how we feel.
Yeah, it's like, so it's sad.
They're more
It's sad
worried about
it's
the
heading that
drivers
way.
cursing than they are the actual rule book.
Oh my God. It's sad because, I mean, next year we're potentially going to have one of the best years if things stay the way it is. And if races are being decided not on track and off of people's interpretation of a rule, then we're going to have a lot of what we saw today.
You need to get ChatGPT involved. Let ChatGPT read the rule book and then just
Decide.
it can give him prompts or something.
I
don't
swear
know.
that would be 10 times better because then the human's not even blamed anymore.
Yeah, that's
They
true.
have no reason to be like,
The
oh, shit.
algorithm's wrong.
So next weekend, what are we saying? It's back to the constructors. Is it Ferrari or McLaren? Who's taking it?
I mean, I would love to see McLaren take it because they've grown so much over this year. But I fear I must say I would love to see Ferrari to take it just a little bit more.
I like McLaren. I want to say McLaren, but purely because of science is the only reason I'm going to say Ferrari, because Lando and Piastri will stick with McLaren. They're going to get their A game together. Sainz and Farsi's going to Williams. I want Ferrari to win purely for Sainz.
Oh, that
purely
would be
for
amazing.
Sainz.
A Sainz win. That's what we're going
Not
for.
Sainz to, like, I don't think he's going to win next weekend.
Okay.
Hey, if he does,
I mean,
great.
it would be great.
Yeah.
But it's more so Ferrari get that constructors.
Yep.
He had, how many years he been Ferrari? 3 years?
Four.
4 years.
Turning
He
20,
started the team when they're in the down and down. He got passed from Renault to McLaren, McLaren to Ferrari. He's been passed around. He doesn't get the credit he deserves.
Passed around.
Sorry, that came off wrong.
Damn.
Thrown around the pattern.
Yeah, that's
I'm trying to give the guy a compliment. Let me get to it. But no, I want him. He's been doing amazing with Ferrari. He's really helped him to get to constructors. Like, he's not just a passenger. He's actually won races. He's bringing them to where they are. So it'd be great for him to get that championship with Ferrari. Not being passed around like a rag doll. But I don't know, yeah.
I would say Max win. I'll give him another win. I think
Change the story,
yeah,
lad. Next.
No, I want him to finish off. It was good to see his family
Yeah.
too there, and cheering him on. End off with 3 wins. That would be nice. And then I would say I think McLaren's got it in the bag. I mean,
think?
19 points is or 21 points is a huge
It is.
point gap, because
It
even
is.
if McLaren is not even as competitive as Ferrari, they're still going to be in the top 5. They're going to be in the top 6 fighting, which means you kind of lose it unless Ferrari has to do a 1-2 finish. And then would that even work if they do a 1-2 finish and McLaren does a 3-4? McLaren will still win.
Yeah, it's more so you got to think like.
One of them has to DNF or one
It
of them has
takes
to be out
one
of points.
fumble and it's over.
That's true.
So
Yeah, I think Piastri could be. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think Piastri could fumble. I don't know. Hey, did you see how ragged he was pushing on
was.
the last corner today?
Yeah.
He was dipping a wheel in.
he was.
I don't know. Sometimes McLaren are like flip a kind 1-2 or flip a kind. It could be like 7 or 8. I don't know what it is.
But like, yeah, I mean, what was it? Las Vegas was a good example.
Yeah.
I
So-
mean, the track didn't work for them, but
You could say the same about Ferrari.
Ferrari,
but
exactly.
I don't know. I think Ferrari might do it. I don't know.
okay.
Logic
That'll be
says
sick.
McLaren.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I would say that, and then I think Charles will actually overtake Lando.
Only
For-
7
for
points.
P2.
Only
Yeah.
7
Championship.
points,
7
I
or 8
think.
points, yeah.
That's not very many.
That's what I'm saying. I think he will get P2 in drivers.
Oh, that would suck for Lando. From going from championship
to lose.
contender to getting
Like
third. Do you think he'll even care at that rate?
Pride. Pride. I mean, he said he's like, I got ego, so I mean that's gonna hit his ego.
we
hard.
know.
Is there any
We know.
financials for like? I know if you
Not
get
for drivers.
unless they have internal agreements.
Yeah, like if they have it in their
contract-wise, probably.
contract.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I feel like Charles will get him. I don't know what it is. I think Lando might fumble more than Oscar this weekend. I think
Okay.
they will have more on him to lead them there, and I
Yeah.
think he will fumble. I mean, he almost did multiple times. It wasn't just Oscar. I mean, he's not spun out. He went off track a few times today.
Yeah.
So like it's bound for him to do it.
I think it's
so.
it's up to McLaren. Like
Yeah.
Ferrari's going to maximize the car, which they've done pretty well all season.
Yeah.
Is McLaren going to bottle the win again?
Yeah.
Like they've kind of been like not so great all season. That's
Yeah.
what it's going to come down to.
Yeah. I mean, like Oscar's pit stop was also a strategy like mistake.
What happened?
They pit him like a lap before safety when everyone knew a safety was coming.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah,
he lost
yeah,
it to
yeah.
Charles. He lost that position. So like it's about to happen with
Yeah.
McLaren, but I think they got it.
So what you're saying is it's McLaren to
It's
lose.
McLaren's to lose.
Yeah.
Ferrari's
that
going to
is a good one.
maximize their points.
Yeah,
But
that's
like,
fair.
I'd like Ferrari to win it, but I think it'll be McLaren as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey.
It's crazy how close Charles is though to Lando. Like it's always all year. It's
always
Max
does
and
this.
Lando championship battle, but then you kind of forget about
Yeah.
how close everybody else is getting behind.
Yeah.
And Charles has had like a sneakily good season.
He is.
Like multiple, the wins,
Yeah.
lots of P2s, P3s, like many podium finishes. He's had a pretty quietly good season.
No. And Taken, he always does this. He always sneaks it in. The last 3-4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's been sneaking that P2 finish.
Maybe it's less pressure. And maybe he's getting way more comfortable with being in pressure.
Pressure, yeah. And the regulations are catching up to the way he wants to drive now, right?
It does make you excited for next year.
That's what I'm
Oh,
saying.
yeah.
The cars will be more like everyone is like before it was like a big performance gap. Everyone's getting a little
Everyone's
bit
caught up.
Yeah, it will be interesting. It'll be interesting with Lewis and Charles racing.
I mean,
together as
that
well.
one battle between Lewis and
yeah.
Charles during the sprint, I think it
That was
was,
fun.
that was awesome.
Yeah.
That was close.
Clean
Charles
racing.
is going to hate
Clean
that
racing,
next
though,
year
yeah.
if they were teammates. He'd be
Yeah.
like, what the hell?
Because like imagine Carlos is, aggressive with Charles, and then you got Lewis who has something to prove more than Carlos now.
That's true.
Yeah.
I think there's gonna be team orders a lot more next year with those two.
It'll be Ferrari. They won't make do team orders. They'll just let him at it.
I mean, how many times they've tried
They'll
with
be like,
them?
Leclerc, stop. We're going to let Lewis go by. And imagine. Like,
Yikes, that would be wild. But yeah, no, I think that's pretty much it.
I think
That wraps
we've-
it up. We
I
got
think
one
we've-
more race left, and
Yeah.
we can cap off a great season that no one saw coming. And again,
Good
congrats to Max for a 4th time. He's hunting for his 5th. It would be nice to see go Red Bull. Had to sneak that in.
Max
to
deserves
sneak
it.
it in.
Max deserves it. Max deserves it.
He's gonna win it.
No, this year he deserves it. Next year's a whole new year.
I think he's gonna win it.
These Red Bull fans are so greedy,
I
man.
know.
You can't get enough. It's
because
like
we're done.
4 wins, championship.
After next year, we all know we're done. I don't think they're gonna ever win again. So give him one more. And I think that's it. All right, was that it?
I think that's
Think
it.
so.
lads.
Awesome.
Okay.
Again, thank you
Awesome.
so much for Evan for joining us. We had a great chat, and we look forward to what you guys do this season. Keep crushing it.
Yeah.
We're going for wins. Nothing else. You know, you're part of the Red Bull gang now, so we only accept wins. Sorry, boss. But yeah, thank
Evan's
you so
like,
much.
I don't know if I can.
He's like, no
I didn't
comment.
read any of that.
No comment. But everyone else, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, and do all the above. And we'll see you on the next one. Peace.